Providing insights to help you grow your business, improve yourself, and add value to those around you. You're listening to the Success is a Choice podcast, where you get a peek into the lives of industry leaders as they share their stories with you.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Success is a Choice podcasting network. I'm your host, Jamy Bechler, and today we have a very special guest. In fact, she is a repeat guest, so we liked her so much the first time around. She is back. Laura Gassner Otting is with us, and she's got a brand new book. Once again, it's another Wall Street Journal bestseller. We will get into that in a minute. She's a very interesting person, but she's fresh off of like Good Morning America appearances, so please don't be too nervous about coming on the show, Laura. I know you're not used to a big stage. You're not used to, being on network TV and all that kind of stuff. So we'll try to walk you through it, try to help you.
Oh, you are so good to me, Jamy. That's why I came back. I knew I'd be in good hands.
Yeah. Well, when you were on before, I introduced you as possibly one of the world's most interesting people. And you told us some crazy stories. And definitely, if you're listening to this or didn't listen to that the first time, go back, check that out. JamyBechler.com/HeyLGO, HeyLGO. But since we talked, we've had COVID lockdowns, which is just a little thing that happened in the history of the world. But is there anything that's been really exciting, interesting, adventuresome that you've done in the last couple of years since we talked?
Oh gosh. Well, I mean, I wrote another book, so I've got another book. The book's come out, but I've also run 2 marathons. I got over an exceptionally rare autoimmune disease that only 800 people in the entirety of the United States have ever been diagnosed with. So yeah, it's been, and I sent a kid off to college and about to send another one off to college. So it's been a busy few years.
Well, that's why you have to write more books, because you're sending kids to college. That's not cheap. That's for sure.
That is definitely for sure.
So you've run a couple marathons. What is that like for those of us who don't even like watching running on TV or watching someone run down the sidewalk? It gives us like post-traumatic stress disorder from when we were in high school or college and the coach made us run.
Okay, so here's the thing. I didn't run my first mile until I was 39 years old, like my first mile of my life. So like, the coaches that tell you to run in high school, like I was the kid who I got my period every 3 days, or at least that's what I told them. I'm like, sorry, coach, can't run. Got the monthly visitor, right? Like I had every possible excuse, like all cataloged in a journal, so that I'd never had to sweat. And then I turned 39 and I walked into my kid's school and I saw the principal, and my kids were like, I don't know, 8 and 10. Like I wasn't fat. I wasn't thin. I was just kind of there, but everything just kind of started to hurt a little bit. And I see this principal and she looks amazing, like glowing from within. And she's like 65 years old. And I was like, Ellen, like, what's going on? Like, is there a new man in your life? Like, what's happening? And she was like, well, there is a new man in my life and his name is Mike. Coach Mike. And then she proceeds to drag me to the dirtiest, dankest, most disgusting gym in a basement that you've ever seen. And we do 45 minutes of calisthenics, at the end of which Coach Mike invites us to the opportunity to run a mile. And Jamy, it took me a full 6 weeks to actually run the mile without stopping and literally needing to like lean over and hurl. But at the end of that mile, I was like, if I string 3 of those together, maybe I could do a 5K. And so I signed up for like the couch to 5K, and 6 weeks later, I ran my first 5K. And at the end of that, I was like, well, if I string 2 of those together, maybe I could run a 10K. And I live in Boston, and this was going. And I'm now training for my 6th marathon. So what is it like for those of us who get, I don't know, I hate running. I hate every single step of running, but I love having run. I love the process. I love looking at the beginning of a training plan and knowing that there's like commitment and intentionality and accountability, and that at the end of it, there's, a heat sheet and a medal, like you're a freaking superhero and you just like feel like you've done the thing.
Well, my mom would not let me play football when I was in high school,
She
and
liked
or
your brain.
evidently she liked me, didn't want me getting hurt or whatever. So I'm going into my ninth grade year, and my mom will not let me play football, and obviously that's not cool because
Yeah.
I'm this basketball player, I'm an athlete or whatever, and she gets a cross country coach to be like, yeah, Jamy could come out for the team even though it's the day before school. So I go out for the cross country team, and I'm a basketball player who the only running is when you get in trouble.
Yes.
And so I go out running, and that first year as a freshman, I'm not sure, I lost track of how many girls beat me in races. And I mean, like, for a teenage boy, getting a zit on your face or a pimple on your face and getting beat by girls is like some of the worst things that can happen to a teenage boy.
Mhm.
At the end of that year, I decided I either needed to make this for real or I would continue being embarrassed. And that sophomore year, I actually qualified for the state finals. So hashtag humble brag. I was an amazing improvement. I was most improved, but I
Well,
did.
it helps when you start from the bottom. I think you're allowed to brag about that. But I think here's the thing, like you made a very intentional decision that you were either going to get better or you were going to get embarrassed, right? Like, because getting gone wasn't an option. Your mom wasn't going to let you do that. So like it was either get better or get embarrassed. And I
Yeah.
think there's something about this idea of signing up for a goal that is so big that if you don't actually commit to training for it and you don't put in like the hard work in the dark when nobody sees it, you're going to get embarrassed day of, like on the stage in front of everybody, whether it's an actual stage or just like the cross country meet, right? Like you signing up for something that you have to take seriously. I mean, that demands something different of us.
Yeah, absolutely. And we talk about it all the time. Is what you want right now more important than what you want most in life? What,
Yes.
and don't sacrifice your future or what you want most for what you want now. And I'm not recommending that, I'm not recommending necessarily that the embarrassment is why you should be motivated to do something all the time. But for me, that was the motivation for me.
Yes.
Was I didn't want to be embarrassed anymore. Now, whether that's healthy or not, that's for another time. But for me, it worked. And I've always risen to that kind of challenge myself. But you've written another book. You've gone on Good Morning America. Robin Roberts has gushed over you. You've been on that show before. You're like a celebrity, all this kind of stuff, all she loves you and all this kind of stuff. We have this picture of the stage.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, you went on this, and obviously, if you're only listening to the audio version, you can't see this picture, but it's a pretty cool stage that you went on. Tell us a little bit about that experience. You've been on Good Morning America before. You've been on the Today Show. You've been on all these platforms, but what about this stage?
So they built this crazy set. So when you do live morning TV, it's mostly scripted, right? So they want to make sure it's going to fit into like your tight 3.5 minutes or 4 minutes or 2 minutes or whatever the segment length is. And so you go back and forth with the producers with like, here's the why now, and here are like the things we get wrong and like some tips, right? So like it's a very, very structured segment. And so there's like 4 questions or 5 questions, and there's very specific answers. And the answers that you give have phrases in them that the producers are already going to put on the cryon behind you or below. So like all the, like when the words pop up on the screen as the person's saying it, it's not because the guy in the control room is like writing it really fast. Like they've already got all that stuff all put in. So you spend probably 10 hours going back and forth with the producers and the writers, like crafting the whole set. And then literally right as you walk on, the producer looks at you and goes, okay, just remember it's live TV and Robin's going to just say whatever she's going to want to say. So good luck. And you like walk out and like 4 million people watching and you're like, I don't know, like what's going to happen next. So it's terrifying. And what we had put together as a segment was something from the Hall of Mirrors chapter, where the minute you feel like there's something more in you, you see this version of yourself and like, what do you do? Like, what are the reflections and what's the imposter syndrome? And are you full of doubt? And so originally they were just going to rent these, like a couple, they had to get approval of the budget to rent a couple of funhouse mirrors from like a Carnival distribution type company. And the producer sends me a picture, and it's her and one of the other camera guys who's like 5'10", and the mirrors are about their size. And then she says, but the props department came out and looked at it and said, I think we can do better. Okay, fast forward 3 weeks, I walk into the set at 5:55 AM to do like they do like mandatory COVID testing and rehearsals. And I walk in and I see the set, which consists of these two like 10-foot mirrors that they built themselves with these like plexiglass and mylar. And so they look like these funhouse mirrors, and they took my art and they put it on the back wall and they animated it and they put these giant signs up. And there were like, it was like we had to like choreograph like her standing in front of the one mirror and then me walking to where she was and vice versa. So there was like dancing involved, and I am not coordinated, which is why I run straight, because I can't catch a ball to save my life. And I walk in at 5:55 and I look at the set, and I kid you not, I like made a beeline for the dressing room, where I stood there like fanning my armpits so I would stop like Niagara falling, because I was so overwhelmed and full of anxiety. Like, oh, like they built this thing. Oh no. Like they're expecting me to be like really good. I don't know if I can be really good. So it was super overwhelming. And then we get on set and Robin's like, I love you. I love your writing. And then like for 3 minutes, we're like on script. And then she just goes off script for the whole last minute. And I have no idea what's coming next and what I'm going to say. And I got off set and I brought my son with me, my 18-year-old son. And I looked at him when we got back to the dressing room and I was like, I think Robin told the whole world that she loves my writing. And I think she said, I love you. And I think I might have swooned back, I love you too. Did I do that? And he was like, yeah. He's like, yeah, sorry, you did. So I don't know. At the end of the day, it was a very successful segment because people were like, you were so authentic. You had such a connection with her. She loves you. And I was like, oh my God, I love you too.
Which is funny because you're used to being on stage. You're used to being in front of people. Like this isn't
alone. I'm used to be on stage alone, where I control everything.
That's a good point. So you've been a TEDx speaker where you have to stand in that little dot,
yes,
and everybody's eyes are on you. You've given a couple of those speeches. What has that been like? And was there a difference between the first time and the second time that you did those?
100%. So the first TEDx I gave a TEDx Cambridge, and it was literally the first speech I ever gave in my life, like in my life. So that was 2,500 people, the Boston Opera House, gold gilded walls, crystal chandeliers. And I got up and I talked like a TED talker. Like it was, I had been writing a blog. The producer of TEDx Cambridge saw it, asked me if I wanted to do a talk. And I said, no way. I don't speak in public. That's terrifying. I don't want to do it. And my kids, actually the same one who's 18, it was like, I don't know, 12 at the time, was like, Mom, don't you tell me I got to do scary stuff. And I was like, like you don't listen to me tell you to pick up your socks, but if it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you, like that you listen to. Great. So 6 weeks later, I'm on the stage and I'm giving this talk basically in the same voice as the woman who trained me would talk, because I was just imitating her. Like she told me I should say a line this way, so I was saying a line this way. And that talk got like 12,000 views maybe over the course of 6 years. The talk I gave for TEDx Reno, which was basically the 12-minute version of WonderHELL, has I think 1.3 million views at this point. And what's the difference? The difference is I got up on that stage now, standing in the center of my excellence, of my experience, of my confidence, knowing how to find my own voice and just talk about the thing that mattered most to me in the phrasing that worked best for me. And I think the difference between, how our message resonates and how our voice resonates when it's true to who we are and how it resonates when we're just imitating somebody else, it's night and day.
So let's talk about your book, WonderHELL.
Yeah.
Wall Street Journal bestseller. Not
crazy.
Bad.
Not bad.
Not a bad.
Damn, James Clear. If it weren't for him, I'd be number one.
That's right.
Or number two.
Just James Clear with
just
Atomic Habit.
5-year-old book. He's still selling like 20,000 copies a week.
Yeah. So we have, once again, graphic. If you're listening to this on the audio podcast, we thank you for that. And if you would kindly go ahead and leave a 5-star review. That would be awesome. But if you're watching this on Rumble or YouTube or LinkedIn or Facebook, wherever, you can see this right now. But we have the Wall Street Journal top, 10 list. And there's Atomic Habits, number 1, James Clear. And then there's WonderHELL from Laura Gassner Otting. And we won't stop at that. Then it's Strengths Finders. Then it's Brene Brown, Dare to Lead. Then it's, Jocko Willink. It's all these Patrick Lencioni 5 Dysfunctions. So people that are on my bookshelf as well. So this is a pretty big deal. Your book, WonderHELL. So why did you decide to write this? And was it different writing this than your other bestsellers?
Yeah, so I wrote this book actually because after Limitless came out, I found myself in WonderHELL. So WonderHELL is the space in between who you were yesterday and who you just realized you can become tomorrow. And, if you are an entrepreneur or manager listening to this, I just sold my first contract. Oh my God, maybe I could sell 5 more. Maybe I could hire 5 people, each of who could sell 10 more. If you're an athlete or a coach, I just ran that, that mile at the fastest I've ever run it before. Maybe I could get even faster, or maybe I could run 2 miles, or maybe I could run 4. It's those moments where the work that you do opens up more doors than you ever thought possible. And through those doors, you see this version of yourself that you didn't know was available to you. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. So it's like, what do I do now? Like, do I go for it? Am I allowed to go for it? Is going for it for me? Is that okay? And so when Limitless came out and it debuted at number 2 on the Washington Post list, right behind Michelle Obama, right? I'm in good company here with Michelle Obama and James Clear. But when it debuted on the Washington Post list, I was like, Washington Post, could I get the Wall Street Journal? Could I get the New York Times? How do I get under the oak tree with Oprah? She got to talk to someone. Why not me? And I was so exhausted by the effort of launching Limitless that where the part of my brain that normally governs my humility was just nowhere to be found. And when I saw that image of me under the oak tree with Oprah, the little voice inside my head went like, this thing has legs. It can be you. You can do it. And then I couldn't unsee it. So I spent the next few months sort of thinking about this idea while I was promoting Limitless. And then the pandemic happened. And during the pandemic, I, would go live to my community every day on social media. And then after 3 weeks, I just got really sick of my own voice. I was like, this is going to last longer than we all think. I got to figure out a plan. So I just started interviewing other speakers and authors who I met in the green room along the way, who all were like super interesting humans having super interesting lives and really great storytellers. And I just started talking to them about these moments in life when everything changed for them. And then, thank you, Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook memories. A year into this, a Facebook memory comes up about a post that I wrote about this moment of WonderHELL that I was having right after Limitless came out, where I literally called it WonderHELL. And I was like, that's it. That's like the last 100 conversations with Olympic medalists and startup unicorns and glass ceiling shatters. They've all been about this moment when they were in WonderHELL. And then it was like the book basically like formed itself. And all I had to do was like write up all of the interviews and the lessons that were learned and tactics that people put into place. But it's very funny because I didn't start off researching it to write a book, but along the way, I was like, oh, wait a minute. This feeling of being excited by success, but also overwhelmed by our newfound burden of potential is pretty universal. And nobody talks about it.
Well, we want you to go ahead and trash James Clear and Brene Brown and Jocko Willink. Tell us why. We have a lot of people that listen to this that like to read. So tell us why. Just burn those books or just stop buying those books. This is the book you got to read so that you can get to number 1. No, what
you can read all of the books. We're all good. We're all good.
What makes this different? Or I should say, like, why is this a book that should definitely be on people's bookshelves?
So when I found myself in WonderHELL, I started reading a lot of self-help. I learned how to 10X and I learned how to rise and grind and hustle and crush it and all the things. I stopped apologizing. I washed my face. Like I did it all. And none of those things really worked for me. And I realized why. Because we have been taught that success is a final destination. Success is an endpoint. As soon as you get to success, you're done. It's awesome. Easy money, smooth sailing. And what I realized in this moment was that success wasn't an endpoint, but it was a waypoint. Success was that moment. It was a portal that helped you think about what else you can do. So these books that tell you, how to get to success, it's only half the story. It's only like a quarter of the story, because on the other side of this wonder hell, it's just the next one and the next one and the next one after that, if we're lucky. And so I needed to learn not how to survive in these moments, which I feel like a lot of these books teach us, but how to look forward to them and plan for them and learn from them and thrive in them instead. So I think all those books are good to help us create habits and be more vulnerable and sort of understand who we are and what matters to us. But I think we also have to understand that when we do find whatever level of success we're going for each time, every new level brings a new devil. And so there's just more that we need to learn and grapple with, because it doesn't actually get easier. In fact, it gets harder, it gets faster. We have a bigger pace, we have increased hunger. And I think that's a really lonely place to be, because what are you going to do? Go out and complain like, oh, I'm successful, boo hoo. Like, nobody wants to hear that. Right. So we end up being alone if you're, the top of your class as an athlete, or if you're starting your own business or whatever it is that you're doing, you end up sort of alone in this success. And then there's not necessarily a lot of safety net, or a lot of charted pathway in front of you, because a lot of times we're the first one of our family, of our friend group, of our peers that are like making it to this level. And so I wanted to write a book about people who were there and who figured out how to be there and actually enjoy the ride.
Mm. Well, our audience, they understand success is a choice. It is more, we talk a lot about it's a journey, it's a process. I know that can be cliche, but we talk a lot about that. It's not a final destination, as you said. You were in the White House in your 20s, early 20s. A lot of people would say, hey, that I've arrived. Or someone might be, for me personally, I was one of the youngest head coaches in the NCAA at 27. I was 27-year-old head coach of basketball. Sometimes we see that and we're like, oh, we've arrived, and we kind of take a breath and we kind of let down a little bit. But success is a journey. Success is a choice. One of that journey sometimes can lead us to, like, in case of your book, an amusement park. Your book has this amusement park theme. We've all visited amusement parks. Why did you choose an amusement park? What does that have to do with your book?
Yeah. So, we think that amusement parks are going to be fun, right? Like, we think success is going to be fun, and then you succeed and you're like, why is this so hard? Like, why is it getting worse? And I was thinking about like what a good analogy would be. And a friend of mine, Rahaf Harfouche, who wrote this great book, Hustle and Float, which is all about like humane productivity. She said, it's kind of like an amusement park. Like, you think it's going to be really fun, and then you're there and it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon and the sun is beating down on you and you're dehydrated, and that corn dog in your stomach is fighting with the cotton candy that you just ate, and you're like in line for the roller coaster and you're like, I think this is going to be a bad idea. Somebody told me this was going to be fun. Why isn't this fun? Right? She's like, you could actually create it like everybody goes to the amusement park and goes to different towns and different rides in different orders. So you just like a map, like you are here. And so it was just sort of like this lighthearted way to do it. And so the book is divided into 3 sections: Imposter Town, Doubtsville, and Burnout City. And then each one of those sections has 5 rides, each of which should evoke the emotions, the tsunami of emotions that we're feeling as we go through the various levels. Like the roller coaster is dealing with uncertainty. The bumper cars are managing perfectionist tendencies. The Hall of Mirrors is imagining, your like reflection of who else you can become. The Imaginarium, dreaming bigger. The merry-go-round is like saying no to hustle porn, right? And just like deciding to slow down maybe. So it's sort of this choose your own adventure where you can read it from beginning to end, or you can just say like, what, right now I'm grappling with this, I'm the bottom is going to fall out. I'm going to go read the Gravitron. Like, that's what I'm going to go read right now.
Well, when I think of amusement parks, I think of it just sucks all the money out of my pocket and all my hard work, all that, hustle and grind for the last year just goes out the window on funnel cakes and overpriced Mickey Mouse ice cream and all that kind of stuff. Cotton candy, crazy.
Well, it's funny. There's actually a chapter in there called the Whack-A-Mole Game, which is about how do we focus on what actually matters when you're so busy dealing with everything else. My book only costs $26.95, so it's not going to suck all your money. Just so you know. It's funny that the publisher was like, okay, so $28.95, and I'm like, that's a lot of money. Like, can we just like that's too much. And I just like set the price lower and he thought I was crazy. But yeah, I mean, I know we sort of talked about maximizing income and profit and things like that, but it's not, necessarily the like where to focus all the time. So the the thing about success, I find, is that we all have this idea of what it should be and how it should feel. And then when we get there and it doesn't feel that way, or maybe it doesn't feel as good, or maybe we don't feel as fulfilled, or maybe we feel overwhelmed, we just don't necessarily know what to do or how to think about it. And I think there is this like giant tsunami of emotions that come at us. And a lot of times we are just being fed this idea that it's supposed to be hard. Like, yeah, you're supposed to work hard. You're supposed to hustle. It's supposed to be exhausting. But, when I was first learning how to lift heavy weights, for example, I remember I was working out with this trainer at the gym. And after a few weeks, I was like, man, I'm never sore. Like, you should be working me harder. And he was like, Laura, he's like, you're not supposed to be sore. Like, if you're sore, then I'm working you too fast. You're progressing too fast and you're going to get injured. He's like, you're lifting more weight today than you lifted yesterday, than you lifted the day before, than you lifted the week before. You got to progress. It's okay to do things like intentionally, step by step, and that's okay.
So, one of your chapters or one of the parts of the book is imposter. Is it Imposterville?
Imposter Town.
Imposter Town. And I think we all, to a degree, struggle with imposter syndrome sometimes. What is, we obviously want people to go out and shell out the money to buy the book and just check that out, because that's definitely something that you want on your bookshelf. If nothing else, it's a cool cover. So you want that on your bookshelf without a doubt. But for those of us, while we're waiting for that book to come from your website or from Amazon, what's something that we need to know and take away with imposter syndrome that can tide us over until that book gets here?
So one of the things that I thought was most interesting about these like 100 glass ceiling shatters, Olympic medalist, startup unicorns, is that each one of them experience imposter syndrome today, still to this date, right? Like gold medal winners, people who run billion-dollar companies, the first ever of whatever, like they still have imposter syndrome, and on a very regular basis. But what they do is they don't say, oh my gosh, I haven't done this before. They say, oh my gosh, I haven't done this before. And so they don't see it as a warning sign that they're in the wrong place. They see it as a cheering sign that they're actually on the right track. So these are not limitations, but invitations. And I think the ability to renegotiate our relationship with that emotion, along with all the other emotions that we feel, is really the difference. So they don't get consumed with and exhausted by this feeling of someone's going to find me out. They walk in and they go, yeah, I've never done this before. I'm here for the first time. Isn't it cool that I get to experience this and figure this out? And what an adventure is ahead. And that just really changes everything. So they're not wasting energy on trying to pretend they belong and faking it till they make it and acting like they have all the answers. They're actually receptive to new information and creating relationships that they wouldn't have been able to do otherwise. So they're not only are they able to be successful, they're able to be successful faster than those who are pretending like they know everything, and in the pretending miss all the important stuff that's happening.
So what is next for you?
Oh gosh, what's next for me is, well, I'm training for my 6th marathon. So hopefully I'll be running Berlin in September. Sending, as I mentioned, the next kid off to school in August. And hopefully between now and then, doing a whole lot of keynotes on WonderHELL, doing a whole lot of media on WonderHELL. And I would be lying if I didn't say that I do have a 3rd book in mind that I'm thinking about, but probably something around creating a legacy that matters to us. But that'll be next. That'll be the next time I'm back.
Now, will there be a sequel, Wonder Heaven or Wonder Paradise?
Yeah, probably not. It's funny, when Limitless came out, I did this 3-year study with like 6,000 responses from 74 different countries across all the reasons that keep us engaged and excited and energized at work. And every single other author I know was like, you should write The Limitless Leader. Like, why are you writing WonderHELL right now? Like the business plays The Limitless Leader. And I was like, no, I talked about it. I'm done. I'm ready for the next thing. So yeah, probably not. But it will probably be yellow, because I will say, like, as you know, Limitless, bright yellow book, and WonderHELL is blue, but the actual book inside the cover is yellow. So it's like a little homage.
Well, I think I heard you right. Your next marathon is in Berlin,
Yes.
which doesn't shock me whatsoever.
Well, the thing is this, like I've run New York, Boston, and Chicago, and those are the US majors. And a friend of mine is on the board of a nonprofit that has bibs for Berlin. So I was like, okay, well, if Berlin, London, and Tokyo are the overseas majors, we're not really signing up for Berlin. We're pretty much signing up for Berlin, London, and Tokyo, aren't we? And she's like, yep.
So when you cross the finish line at your previous marathons, are you the person that just pretty much collapses? Are you the person that's like, oh, I've got a whole lot more I could run? Or are you the person that's like, where's all the bagels? Where's the beer? Where's the stuff I need to eat?
Well, last in 2021, I ran Boston because it was in the fall. It was like the 1 year was in the fall because of COVID. And then a month later, I ran New York, and I only ran New York a month later because I had such stomach distress at mile 18 that I visited every single porta potty along the way. And I was so close to my 4-hour marathon that I've been dying to get, that I was like, well, if you're already in shape, you don't got to get in shape. Let's run New York next month. And so, I ran New York a month. So I collapsed at the end of that one because, gastro. And then in New York, I actually slipped over my own 2 feet at mile 4 and sprained my ankle, and then proceeded to run the next 22 miles on a sprained ankle. I did get to 4:02, so I got close, but I wasn't quite able to do it. So yes, I collapsed at the end of that one also. I'm really looking forward to being the kind of person who finishes with more in the tank, but I am not a runner. I'm a terrible, terrible, terrible runner. But I'm stubborn as hell. So who knows? I'm only getting older. I don't know if it's going to get better.
Well, people watching this can see behind you, you have a number of books. I can't I can't make out all the titles, but there's a whole lot of yellow books there. I'm assuming there's a lot of copies of Limitless.
Yes, there are Limitless up there, and I just haven't gotten around yet to putting WonderHELL up there, but I should. And I also have a huge stack of books underneath my computer stack here. So I'm just around. Books are great. I love books. I'm a
So,
huge nerd.
okay, so for the book nerd, and a lot of
Yeah.
people that listen to this like books as well, what is the book probably behind you that you've read the most, or worn out the book the most?
Oh gosh, that's a really good question. I would say, I think Quiet by Susan Cain was pretty remarkable for me. I think Presence by Amy Cuddy. Also, these are just books that like helped me. They really helped me live inside of who I am rather than trying to pretend to be somebody else.
Are you a highlighter? Do you underline stuff? Do you dog ear the pages?
No, I am a note taker, but I take notes on. I'm actually grabbing something here. I take notes on little sticky notes, and then I stick them in a little box. So if people are watching, they can
Wow.
see my very messy box of just random sticky notes that are in this box because at some point they fall off or out of the book, and then I don't know. And they say things like magic exclamation point, but I have no idea where that actually came from or what I actually meant. So I don't have a very good system, although I know that there are a lot of tech solutions that would be really good and really easy.
I love it. Now, okay, maybe a
Magic.
harder question. Harder question. What book behind you is just up there for looks? It's up there to make you feel smart or to look smart. Is there any up there like that?
I don't.
This is confessional. This
No,
is
no, I
like
don't know
Catholic
it here, but
confessional.
I will tell you that on my the 1 year anniversary of dating my husband, he gave me the Fagles translation, the brand new Fagles translation of the Iliad and the Odyssey. And I remember looking at that and being like, it's so cute that he thinks I'm smart enough or that I care about the Iliad or the Odyssey. I will tell you, on our second anniversary, he gave me jewelry. I taught him by the next year, but that might be up on my shelf back here somewhere. And I did try to read it. I didn't get very far.
No, I remember trying to read it or supposed to read it in high school. And I didn't read many books in high school, but I read a lot of Cliff Notes.
Oh, yes.
Speaking of yellow books.
Yes.
Yeah, I own like the whole I must have had a subscription or something.
I got a 5 on my 12th grade AP AP English essay, like top number, like gets you out of college English because of an essay that I wrote based on something I read in the Crime and Punishment Cliff Notes from Dostoevsky. So don't knock those Cliff Notes, man. They're good.
No, well done. Well done. Well, she's Laura Gassner Otting, and we definitely appreciate the encore performance. You can definitely check her out on Twitter or Instagram at Hey LGO. Hey LGO. But maybe we'll have you on for the next time that you write a book, or maybe when you break 4 minutes or 4 hours in
4 minutes.
in the 4-minute mile, when you run that 4-minute mile.
Yeah, those crazy Kenyans, man, they run like a 4:20 for like 26 miles. Like I can't even drive that fast. I mean, they're just amazing.
Yeah, for some of us, that's like sprinting. Yeah, I'll be on the stationary bike. I remember the last Olympics, watching it on the screen as I'm at the YMCA. I'm on the stationary bike, and I'm seeing they put their mile split. And I look down at my stationary bike at my mile split, and I'm
it's like twice as slow.
Yeah, it's like
4
they
times
would be
as
beating
slow.
me right now.
Yeah.
What in the world am I doing?
And then you try to do it for like a mile or a half mile, and you have to like lay on the ground. I mean, it's just, they're superhuman. It's incredible, but it is because they are intentional and it's habits. Like, yeah, like they have a little bit of different DNA, right? And they've got, different resources, but like a lot of that is just hard work. It's a choice. A lot of it is a choice. Success is a choice. There you go.
There you go. I appreciate the shameless plug. Appreciate that.
I'm here to serve.
All of Laura's contact information, where you can find her on the World Wide Web, on the internet, is going to be in the show notes as well, whether you're listening to this on the audio or watching this. We appreciate it if you would kindly be so nice as to smash that like button, or just tap it if you don't want to break your screen. Leave a nice little review. It doesn't matter if you don't like our show. You definitely liked Laura, so go ahead, put that in the review. We love Laura. Can't stand the show, but we love Laura. We definitely recommend that episode. But until next time, remember, success is a choice. What choice will you make today?